And we're now joined by Luke O'Connor, who is an independent candidate running here in the general election in Carlow, Kilkenny. Luke, you've had a look at the tallies so far. How are you faring?
We're very competitive with the smaller independents and the other parties, in Carlow. So like I'd be hoping that, when we see a bit more from North Kilkenny and the city here, that, we'll be thereabouts with the other independents and other candidates.
And it's a pretty short, sharp election. It's a big area to cover, and being an independent, you only have a certain amount of resources available to you.
Yeah, and look, I suppose a lot of my campaign was small donations. We raised about €2,500 from just small donations from people who believe in the things we believe in regarding, controlling immigration, saving rural Ireland from the green agenda, and housing Irish citizens. So look, I'm delighted with the campaign we ran. It was all kind of grassroots, and I think I'm hoping now that when we start seeing more of the Kilkenny figures, that we'll be there near the top of the kind of independent and others list.
Okay. And what were the big issues that were coming up on the doors when you were chatting to people?
Well, I suppose everyone always says different issues. I think a lot of that is dictated by the candidate themselves, isn't it? The issues that you run on tend to come up
Mm.
most for you. But yeah, no, look, I saw a lot of immigration. I saw a lot of, particularly in working class areas, I saw a lot of dissatisfaction with the kind of mainstream kind of narratives around immigration. And look, as I was saying earlier, like I think you know, independent and other candidates, like we're going to get a large share of the vote. It's just a pity we can't coalesce that vote around one person. Do you know that kind of way?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think that's hurting us. Like I was saying about the polling last night, the block of independent Ireland and AN2, like that's 20% of the vote, like nationally. So, I think there's a lot of things to be learned from this, and I'm seeing it up and down the country. Kind of allies of mine getting kind of stung by the fact that there's fragmentation in our
Yeah.
own vote.
Yeah, a lot of float splitting in areas where you'd have maybe three or four candidates of who would be kind of similar in outlook running in an area. So, do you think long term going forward, independents like yourself and parties like that you've mentioned that have to be some sort of, is it merger or form an alliance or whatever you want to call it, in order to maximize that vote and be in with it, a chance of winning seats and being in government.
Yeah, well, look, there has to be something done. I think like one of the biggest killers for me is Dublin Central, because like I had that earmarked with people up and down the country for the last few years. As the last time Gary Gannon got in with only 2,900 votes and a huge transfer, like Councillor Steenson there had done great work there in East Wall for years, and just the Hutch vote is killing them down there.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
he's just cannibalised the vote there. So look, it's disappointing. It's not a great day for us, but look, I'm happy that we brought up issues that wouldn't have been brought up otherwise during the campaign, and look, that's all you can ask yourself.
Exactly. And I'll hand you over to my colleague Paidi Manning.
Luke, you've ran in local elections before. This is your first general election. How do they compare? How do you find it? It's a lot bigger uh, in terms of the distance you have to travel up and down and left and right. And
Yeah, look, it's difficult for an independent, and we ran the best campaign we can with the resources we had available. I think that's a huge thing. I think as well, do you remember when Vincent Brown was doing the road show, like
Yeah,
when he
yeah,
when he when he was on Virgin, formerly TV3,
yeah.
like something like that needs to happen again, because like I'm seeing, like you're seeing first time candidates from the kind of establishment parties getting airtime on RT or whatever, like and not the same chance being given to kind of smaller candidates. I think Councillor Steenson raised that point again today as well. So look, I think there's a lot of work that can be done in terms of like coverage of the general election. Do you know that kind of way? Because and even during the locals, I wasn't happy as regards. There was no formal debate. Everyone has a minute to make a pitch. Like to me, that's not good enough. Like like for democracy. And I have a real problem with that. And I said it to the local media here that it wasn't good enough. But look, we can only play on the pitch that's there, even if it's not a level playing field. But look, I'm happy that we're going to do well enough. We're not going to be embarrassed or anything. It's just it's a pity about the fragmentation, because that's killing us, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, and you mentioned you're looking at Castlecomers, but that could be an area where you could do quite well, because your dad, the late Seamus O'Connor, who's a very well respected former principal of Castlecomer Community School. So I suppose that's an area that I'm sure you'll be looking at with great interest.
Yeah, like hopefully, like, do you know, like you never know until the boxes are opened. And look, even in Carlow there, like, I'm competitive with the IFP candidate who was based in Carlow, you know. And I'd be hoping that, you know, when we get into Kilkenny, we get into North Kilkenny, that will be stronger. You know, I think, you know, I've seen figures there, 1.2, 1.6% in Carlow, you know, which is good for us, like, considering, you know, a lot of the time I would have spent in Carlow would have been in Carlow town. And I wouldn't have. I went out to Loughlin Bridge. I wouldn't have got to Tullow. You know, large parts of Tullow. So I'm happy enough with that. It's just I'm kind of nervous about now, just waiting for the North Kilkenny box and the City box. You know.
Okay. Well, look, thanks a million for taking the time to talk to us here on the Irish Political Roundup. Wish you the very best for whatever holds over the next couple of hours or days. We don't know what way the count, the shape it could take, but we wish you every success for the future.
Thanks very much.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.